Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the move.
Agricole mouvement. Good day again, St. Lucia. Welcome to the program, Agriculture on the Move. My name is Philip Sidney. Today is Man Talk. Men are talking today. We're looking at International Men's Day, which is Sunday the 19th. And of course, we want to look at some men who contributed meaningfully to the agricultural sector in St. Lucia. With me today to help me do that is Mr. Barry Innocent, who is the Cardi country representative here in St. Lucia. Welcome to the program.
Thank you, Mr. Sidney. My pleasure to be here.
Great, great. Barry, you have many heads, many caps you have worn in the ministry. You were DDS in the ministry. You were international president of what?
International Men's Network.
International Men's Network. Man, you have too many caps, man.
Too many caps, too many.
Anyway, we'll talk about just one. International Men's Day. Tell us about that. How did this come about?
It was a Trinidadian, actually. He had in celebration of his father, who had contributed significantly to his life. Mm-hmm. He had a little football competition that went on, and after the football competition, he decided to commemorate that day and use that day as November 19th as a day to celebrate men and men internationally.
Okay.
And it spread across the globe. However, it has not fully been officiated yet by the United Nations, but it's currently been recognized by a lot of countries from Australia, England, almost across the globe.
Okay.
But it's a time that is given where the men and their contribution to their family, their community, their society, and even their job is highlighted. And men are encouraged to be better fathers, better sons, better husbands, and basically better contributors to their environments.
Okay. So in the past, I know you've had some programs, but how has it been for St. Lucia going back a bit?
Well, for St. Lucia, what we observed is there's twofold things happening. I've observed and there's been reported that there's an increase in the way fathers take care of their children. In fact, when you go to the preschool or the daycare, you'll see oftentimes fathers carrying their kids. You know, there's a bit of a more interest shown in fatherhood these days, I find. And a few other stakeholders have highlighted that to me also. I mean, you also have a few cases of delinquency that is being also spoken about. But generally, I find when I go and drop my daughter at kindergarten, I see a lot of fathers there. You see the way they carry their children, the way they deal with their children. You can see there's a greater sense of fatherhood, which I'm very happy for. I suppose the Gender Relations Department is doing a good job. And all the other stakeholders that are involved in it, the churches, the other NGOs, they all are playing their role in helping sculpting our fathers to be better fathers and better men generally.
How does your network look at the vulnerable young males out there in light of what's happening here in St. Lucia, as you know? What are the positives that you can bring out of those men?
Okay, well, we just came out of a Boys to Men conference recognizing, well, in collaboration with Gender Relations Department and Ministry of Education, recognizing that there seem to be, from reports, a lot of the violence happening is boys and young men doing it. I mean, it's even been reported some of the so-called hitmen are actually boys, 15, 14, 16, what I mean, we're hearing from some officials. Also, when you look at school dropouts, the statistics is showing that you have more boys dropping out of school than girls. When you look at tertiary level, like university level, you have a lot more women aspiring to go and get further educated than men. So there's definitely a need to give men a little push, a little nudge, a little encouragement to become better men and better husbands, better fathers, and better managers, whatever they've been made stewards over. Further to that, I know recently there was a launching of a project that the International Men's Network and the Ministry of Agriculture came together through funding through CDB, Caribbean Development, and we funded this project called the Boys to Men Mushroom Production.
Correct.
Because we have found out that mushrooms one of the lucrative products, a niche market, but there's a lot of mushrooms are being imported in St. Lucia, and we, in collaboration, we have developed this project, the Boys to Men Mushroom Mushroom Production Project, which is also called, I think, it's about increasing employment for the males, young males in our St. Lucia society.
Males, yes. In society, yeah.
So that's a good move, and I'm hoping that this pulls through and is implemented. And from the sounds of it and look of it, it looked like the Ministry of Agriculture is pushing it. So that's a wonderful initiative, and looking forward to successes from it and getting a second batch of boys to go in there. I think the Boys Training Center would have boys in that. The care, the boys from care would also be part of that. Bodily also, and generally vulnerable boys, so they can be introduced to another form of self-employment.
Correct.
But one thing I want to say though, from my observation, I'm thinking, if so many of these young boys and young men are involved, not so many, but those that are involved in selling drugs, and have footmen and middlemen, and doing that successfully undercover, but they can't even really hide the money or show the money because they're afraid that they'll be caught. But it tells us something. It tells us that these boys and young men have business acumen. So it's just a matter of shifting them into... Yeah, they're good entrepreneurs. It's just that they do something illegal.
Exactly.
It's just a matter of trying to shift them from an illegal product
to a legal
product. Exactly. That's where the mushroom production came in. And I'm having discussion about creating other products for them and bring other young men into it.
Right.
Also, young women also. But there's just a need to give them a different product to work with that is also lucrative, and have them change their lifestyle.
Yeah. And not only that, I think added to that, you also have this youth economy.
Yes.
That's another avenue that they can get some funding from.
Definitely.
You know, even to go into the same mushroom and other agricultural commodities to assist in lowering our food import bill. Definitely. You know, and then in so doing, you build a new cadre of entrepreneurs. Okay, businessmen, and like you said, if they can do the illegal thing so lucratively, obviously
they have the business acumen. They're doing it.
Exactly.
They have their footmen, they have their middlemen, they have their distributors, the wholesalers. All is happening.
While we're going through, I want us to look at the men who contributed meaningfully to agricultural sector in St. Lucia. And one that came to mind almost instantly is Sir Calix George.
Okay, yes.
This gentleman, he nurtured a lot of young men. He trained many, including myself. In fact, he's my mentor. All right. I mean, he was a research officer. All right. He was the head of the training center at Union, the cadet corps at the cadet training center. I go trained myself. Okay, and many others. We are what we are today, right? He ensured that we went to school to further our training, universities, etc. And of course, he's a soil scientist. He did a number of trials, varietal trials, spatial trials around the island. This man contributed a lot meaningful, and that is why...
What I liked about him was his professionalism.
Oh, yes.
The way he mentored some of the young men, and even ladies to some extent, into being professionals. The way your department at work, your punctuality, the way you address people, the way you address your clients. Very professional.
Yeah, very professional. And from there, he became the minister, for agriculture. All right, and went further to the minister for infrastructure. So he contributed at the highest level you can think in this country, and that's why he got this award as that he's knighted. Well deserved. and mind you, he is still going on. His science is there. He is able to discuss with you. He said to me, I did interview him, and he said he wanted to train young people still, because he's still available. And he said, he's able to do that. And I know he'll do such. So bravo to you, Sir Calix, for your contribution to the agriculture sector. And of course, don't forget Julius Polius, another one, Mr. Mitchell, all those persons who are under the research division, Ronnie Pilgrim, Dave DeMarc, and you also have Mr. Leons, those who were under the research division. And there are many others though. However, I looked at those persons under research, and they did, miraculous job. You know, and
These guys were professionals.
They were real professional.
And when examples, you know, good examples to the
definitely
younger professionals.
Definitely, and I mean, a lot of those guys have retired now,
Yes.
but they are still contributing to the sector. Okay, extension. And those of you I don't know well, that's before your time. Laurie Yogis. This is the gentleman that was the head of the extension division. And the list goes on. You had a guy called Mr. Bobre, you know, who did a lot. That he was also got an award from the Queen, right, for his contribution to the agricultural sector.
Wow.
Mr. Andrew Daisy, Mr. Albany Noel, Mr. Cuthbert Henry, you know, Mr. Hilary LaForce, Stephen Best, Rudolph St. Hill, Rufus Leon, who was also the chief extension officer. All right, Francois Henry. We had a gentleman called Mr. Eden Pemberton. Eden Pemberton was a Dominican.
Wow.
All right, and he was in charge of Central District. When I joined the ministry, he was my supervisor.
Wow.
You know, and I learned a lot from him. You know, we had Lenny Chitoli, all these guys.
You had Anthony Filges.
Anthony Filges was one of those.
He was like a historian. You know?
Oh yes, he was, and he's
Anthony
still there.
Filges, yeah, he's
and
still
I was
there.
told he's supposed to be writing a book. You
on
know?
the history of agricultural sector in St. Lucia.
Definitely. You know?
For my own master's degree dissertation, I spoke with him. I got some references from his book, unpublished, and used it in my dissertation. You know, because he had a lot of interesting insights. That
this guy have an archive, you know.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. He is something
He was
else.
very professional.
Yes,
very professional.
and of course you had Ezekiel Joseph, who was an extension officer, and then he moved up, became the Minister of Agriculture, and he's also a farmer.
Yes.
And he's also
and he's still doing farming right now.
He's still farming.
He has a passion for it.
He has a passion for it, okay, and he's involved in agro-processing.
Yes.
You know, so he has contributed meaningfully. You know, to the thing. And you had
Mr. Dover.
Yeah, Mr. Dover was the extension officer.
Yes.
You know, I mean, he just recently passed.
I think the cocoa industry had a significant contribution.
Yes, in fact, he was a member of the St. Lucia Agricultural Association, where they used to ship cocoa, right? And he had a farm. In fact, before his passing, he was a farmer. He was in Dennery. You know, he had a big farm in Dennery. You know, and he contributed meaningfully over the years to the agricultural sector in St. Lucia.
Definitely.
All right. He was a minister for agriculture. He was an extension officer. He used to ride a bike. And the stories that Mr. Dover gave us, you know, very interesting. Between Cannes and Stirling Canneries, there were no motorable roads at the time when he was, and he used to ride his bike through Tishime. You know, so these guys contributed a lot, you know, to the agriculture sector.
What I like about some of them, like Anthony Filges, when I first started extension, Anthony Filges told me, do not buy a car right away.
Yeah.
He told me, walk the area first.
Yes.
Find out where all the bridges are, all the churches are, all the schools are. Create a map of the area you're responsible for, so that when anybody has to take over from you, or when you look at your map, you know
hold
everything
that point, hold that point, because we do for a break. That's very interesting.
Okay.
You're watching Agriculture on the Move. Don't go away.
The Ministry of Agriculture, Fisheries, Food Security and Rural Development continues placing heavy emphasis on the concept of food security. It's our prosperity, our future. Livestock production is a support program offered by the ministry. It guarantees 28.65% and 40% market share for poultry and swine production respectively. There is ongoing disease surveillance and treatment, improved bloodline support, laboratory support, training and technical support. You can learn more on livestock production. Contact the Chief Veterinary Officer at 468-5620 for further information.
Welcome back to the program, Agriculture on the Move. Of course, we looking at International Men's Network, and also looking at the contribution of men in St. Lucia to the agricultural sector. And we were talking about the Extension Division, and I'll continue. I don't think we'll be able to mention everybody, but as I went on, I remember Anselm Cox, Methodius Fauché, of course, Francis Blanchard, Mr. Barry Innocent, right next to me here, Kemwell Jobatis, Eloy Alexis, who was the present CEO, and Emmanuel Clary, Elvis Harrell, Felix Chico, and of course Gibbs Henry. You know, all these guys. And there are so many of them who worked very, very well in extension. Those were extension in the days. And there's a gentleman I want to mention, Mr. Bernard Thomas,
Okay.
He is still alive of the yesteryear extensionist.
Okay.
I think he's the only one alive today. He's of the lives of the mall. And Mr. Bernard, if you're watching, take a bow because you did well. In fact, he was the supervisor for the Northern Extension Division in Babono.
Okay.
All right. And he did very, 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 very well. Then you had the engineering section. I remember Mr. Fimba Daisy. He was an engineer at the time who was involved in that one. And we had another engineer, Mr. Leonce, from Babono.
Right.
All right, he was one. Then we had people workers like Christopher Cox. We had Monero, we had Jaria.
Felix Jaria.
Yes, and then we had Jones Bissett. I mean, this guy is, I mean, like Jones, I mean, he passed already. But this guy, when he came to learning out drains and, you know, on terraces, and this guy was,
good.
These guys were really, really, really good. And if you go back to the days when we as extension officers, we were well-rounded, eh?
Yes, the approach was different. And at that time also, an agricultural extension officer was not limited to just crops.
Right.
You was a generalist. You did livestock, you did crops, you did a bit of engineering, a bit of everything. If the task is a little too high for you, then you would call on the more experts in the particular field and call them into.
Right.
And I say something. I find that when I first joined the extension division, I joined it because I felt like in extension I'll get the opportunity to practice everything that I was taught. But when it moved to just crops, this was a bit of a little disappointment to me because I felt, okay, and now I'm back to just crops. Yes. When you had a full availability of different fields in the agricultural sector to practice.
Right. Exactly. And of course, I'm looking at the ministers in the past. Well, of course, Ariel
Yes,
was a minister. Then you had Peter Josie.
Correct.
You had Ferdinand Henry.
Right.
You had Cassie Lyons. You had Ezekiel Joseph, Ignatius Jean, and of course Gregor Mason.
Moses Jabatis.
And Moses Jabatis. And then you also had, of course, our now Alfred Prosper.
Right.
So these are and all of the funny thing about those ministers of agriculture, all of them were agriculturists. Eh?
Yes.
All.
A lot of them were farmers too.
Yeah, they were farmers. All of them were agriculturists, you know, trained agriculturists.
And they had passion for
And
agriculture.
they had a passion for agriculture.
Yes.
Then, of course, you go into fisheries. You have Horace Walters, Vaughan Charles, Philip Matty, Mr. Nelson is now the deputy. You had Rufus George,
yes.
Nigel Lawrence. I don't know if you know that guy. He's from Labrie. He works, but he's in Dominica. All right, right now he worked in Dominica. Christopher James, who just passed recently. Lambert Vitalis, you know, and Andrew Jean Caban, the guy who is involved in CMOS production, down in the PI area. This guy, those are guys who did a lot when it comes to the fishery sector.
Yes.
Then when it comes to management, you have Mr. Cyril Matthew.
Oh yes.
This guy, I mean, you know, extraordinary.
Yes.
You know, he was a farm management specialist, and when it comes to discipline, you couldn't get a man more disciplined than this guy. Right, of course, you have now Mr. Barrymore Felicien, who's our PS right now. Right, Dr. James Fletcher.
Yes.
That was another guy, right?
Dr. Darius Gabriel.
And you had Mr. Dr. Gabriel.
All these very good managers.
Yeah,
very
good managers.
Yes.
All right, John Calix, you know, and you know. Then you had Mr. Ogis, Daniel Ogis, who was our deputy, you know, and you know, so this guy contributed meaningfully to the sector. In the information unit, you had people like Neil Paul, you had Worrell, you know, George Cherry, Tedbert Tibbles, Ringson Butcher, myself. I was in there. I'm still there.
They took the agriculture to a heart.
Yeah. You know, and of course, you have the young ones right now. You have Zarik, you have Odlam. Remember Albert Sinclair?
You had Butcher.
And Butcher, yeah, all these guys were present. Then in the marketing unit, because you have so many sections. You know, Vincent Lacobin, Thaddeus now, they have Dr. Esna, they have Terry, you know, and there was a food produce chemist lab at Union where they did concentrates.
Yeah,
right, Mr. Lubin was the one in charge of that.
Mr.
Destang and Evans, Martin Evans,
right.
You know. And don't forget our drivers, you know, Matthew. You know, and Jacoby. You know, these guys, you know, contributed meaningfully, you know.
Yes, definitely.
And the forestry. Gabriel Charles. Coco, he was called. Passion.
Renowned for the forest.
Oh sector, yeah, he was passionate when it came to the forest.
He pushed for that passing of the law where you're no longer allowed to shoot birds.
Yes.
And it caused the bird population to expand.
Exactly. The parrot was one of the things that he was pushing. All right. Michael Bob, Adam Toussaint, Brian James, and of course our present minister, Prosper, he was,
Yes, he was
chief,
chief forest officer.
And then you have Donnelly, and then, of course, Michelangelo.
Yes,
you know?
Michelangelo.
Yeah, and the list goes on when it comes to forestry.
Yes.
Okay, and the livestock, you had Kenny Daniel, you had Eden Compton, Dr.
Yes.
Monroe, Dr. George.
And Eden Compton, you must highlight him because I mean he had a significant contribution to the eradication of the emblematic. Yes,
the emblematic. He did a
wonderful job on that.
Fantastic job.
And you know, he himself is a very good manager.
Oh, he's a very good manager.
And a professional. He was actually one of my mentors, one of my remote mentors, because I admired. When I come to work in the morning, all I try to get to the office before this man. This man always there before me.
And he's always
by 7 o'clock, and he's late to leave.
He's late to leave. And
first to reach, last to leave.
And he comes on the weekend.
And on weekends too, working hard.
You drive on a Sunday, you see he's parked right there.
And always well organized.
And he's now in charge of special projects.
Always well organized.
You know, and I mean, his reporting when it comes to special project, immaculate. You know, and I mean,
he's a professional.
He is.
Efficient, effective.
You know, and that is where I would expect the young people to actually.
Yeah, they can use that as role models.
Emulate as role models.
Yes.
And
in spite of all of that, he was very calm when he dealt with people.
Oh yes, very calm.
Have very good interpersonal skills.
Definitely. In the banana industry, I don't know if you remember Dr. Edsel Edmonds.
Yes.
Right, he was a nematologist.
Right.
You know, and he did a lot of work, right?
Yes.
I think he was one of our ambassadors overseas.
Yes.
You know, you had Dr. Reed.
Takes us to Windban.
Windban. Oh yeah, the Windban days were good days. And
Dr. Basil Williams.
Yes.
Dr. Errol Reed.
Errol Reed, yeah.
Who also contributed significantly to the banana research.
Definitely.
Yes.
And of course, we can't forget Pat Joseph, you know.
Of course.
The famous Pat Joseph, man.
Of course.
All these guys contributed.
One person we forgot in the fishery sector was Atkinson from Jamaica.
Oh yes, yes. Well,
who introduced the tilapia fish.
To St. Lucia, you know.
And Jamaica.
And of course, Eustace Monroe is another famous name, you know. And there are so many others. I mean, we don't have the time to really mention the names. But they contributed meaningfully to the agriculture.
These guys had agriculture as a passion and in their heart.
Yes.
Yeah, they fought for it, they pushed for it, they advocated for it, they lobbied for it, they encouraged young people to get into it. And most of them had their own farms also, so they're very practical in their approach.
Exactly. And when you go back to extension, as you mentioned earlier, our extension days in the early stages were totally different.
Different. In my day, if there's a funeral in my area, at most funerals I'd go to. If there's a fair, I would go. In fact, I used to do Debara, Gawara area, and sometimes on the weekend, I would have a tent. And I'd go on and create a tent, set up my tent on the beach at Grenans, and just be in the area for the weekend, you know.
Let me tell you.
It would be interesting.
One of the things, I call it one of the litmus tests I always give any of the young officers. If you're working in an area, and there's a first communion in an area, and you're not invited, something is wrong. What's wrong with you? A first communion in there where doors are open to everybody, you're not invited, and you're not invited to christen a child in your area. Something's wrong with you, my brother.
In fact, because of my training with livestock at EKIAF, when you sometimes deal with dystocia, where a cow or a pig or a goat have difficulty giving birth.
Yes.
I remember one time after having to practically practice that on a cow, you know, I had dystocia, and to save its calf, and I had to use all my different, what I was taught to save that calf. When I came back home about a year later, I remember one of my rural stakeholders called me at 4 in the morning and told me her daughter was giving birth, but the paramedics are taking too long to come. Can I come and help? I came there thinking, well, I came thinking I'd have to put her in my vehicle and take her to the hospital. But when I reached there, I realized that the young lady was ready to give birth. Wow. So I had to put on my livestock officer cap. Take out my shoelace, ask them, get me some hot water, put my shoelace in hot water to sterilize it. And I delivered that baby, you know. Wow. But I had to use what I was taught for dystocia in animals.
Exactly.
And delivered the baby so well that when the paramedics reached there, they asked, who did that? And everybody pointed at me. They said, you did it like a doctor.
Yeah, man.
But the only thing they didn't like was that I used a shoelace.
But that happened to me once. Imagine I just came from studying on holidays.
Right.
And then there was a farmer who had a sheep.
Yes.
Just about to give birth. And I'm sitting there and I'm hearing the groan and it's in pain. But I'm seeing 2 legs out. The last subject I did before I came down was livestock production.
Right.
And the same topic was dystocia. And then, so I pushed my hand and I felt 2 front legs. But then when I really checked it, I realized it was 2 different front legs.
Oh, no.
One from each
There's more than one cat.
There are three of them,
Wow.
in there. So it's impossible for that
Yes.
sheep to give birth, right?
Yes.
So I have to push one leg in, get another leg of one of the kids, and then bloom, bloom, bloom.
Everything came out.
Everything came out. I saved the three, and I saved the mother.
Exactly.
You understand?
Yes, exactly.
Why? Because my training.
Yes,
You
yes,
understand?
yes,
Because
yes.
we were all rounders, my brother.
All rounders.
You
all
understand?
rounders,
All rounders, man. I mean, I used to go out and line out on the field, on the contour drains, graded
Yes,
drains,
yes.
and we had a road tracer. But after a while, just with my eye, I used to do it.
Yeah, because in those days, an agricultural extensionist was trained in all different things, engineering, livestock. He was a generalist.
Yes.
He knew a lot of things.
Yeah.
And there's a few things he might become an expert at, but,
Right.
but generally know a lot of
Yeah.
things. Let me tell you, one time the Wasco came to do some work in my area, and they told me they'd have to create a drain there in my yard. So they said they'd come tomorrow. So I just went in the drain and used my training in engineering, lined the drain with the 2 ropes, digged my drain. When the guys came the next day, the guys said to me, when did Wasco come there? I said, Wasco didn't come there. I did it myself.
think-
I'm an agriculturist.
Yeah, man, yeah, man. Yeah,
And
man,
the guys
yeah,
were like
yeah, man.
amazed with that. you know?
Definitely, definitely. Before I end, I just want to say thank you to Monsieur Patrick Anthony Folk Research Center for giving me this trophy, for my contribution to the Creole media landscape in St. Lucia. So thank you very, very much. You need to get your award while you're alive. Not when
That's important. you
That's
know.
very, very important. So thank you,
Do it while they're
thank you
alive.
very,
Do it
very
while
much.
they're alive, yes.
Just before I end on a sad note, though, the pre-lasting is really getting out of hand now. Okay, and there's a situation where, of course, banana is scarce.
Yes.
As well as stealing bananas. Some people went and they put actually pins and needles in the bananas.
My goodness.
People, I know it's difficult, but please don't go down that route because people are going to get damaged. But again, it's a lesson that is sent out there. You persons that are buy from reputable farmers,
Exactly.
not from persons who go out there and steal the farmer's produce. And that's a problem. Please, I saw some photos that circulated on the media today, and it's not nice. It's not nice.
Yeah, because the farmers work so hard.
They work hard. They work hard, and when they go in there, they cut 10 of the bananas, man. You don't do that.
Yeah, that's not fair. That's not fair.
And don't talk for livestock. Goats. So, my comrade, as you're about to end, any final words from you at International Men's Day. What is it that you plan?
Well,
you have about 1 minute to do
I
that.
just want to encourage the young men there that can hear me and are under the sound of my voice to pursue higher education because it helps you to step up. You can never go wrong pursuing further education. It's a knowledge you will get that you can use whether on the job or not on the job. Whether you get a promotion quick enough or not, at least you have that knowledge in your head. It can be applied in various aspects of your life.
Mm-hmm. Very good, sir. And I believe that moving forward, we need to work and encourage those young people out there.
Yes,
more
yes.
so now.
Yes, more so
What
now.
we can do in our community, let us work hard.
Yes.
Let us impart the knowledge that we have. Let us encourage, let us use we as mentors for these young people.
Yes.
That's very important now. Because to be honest with you, to bring up a young person now in this environment is not a nice
easy.
thing to do.
Yeah.
So I want to thank you for being here, and I wish
Thank
you
you
well,
for
my
having
brother,
me.
in what you're doing.
Thank you so
You've
much.
been watching Agriculture on the Move. I want to thank you for viewing the program. And remember, agriculture is our business. Eat fresh. St. Lucia's best. The money stays here. Thank you again. I'm Philip Sidney. Goodbye. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Well done.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole mouvement.
Agriculture on the Move.
Agricole mouvement.